Hi guys, welcome to COSC100 tutorial number 5. In this video we're going to be looking at exercise number 5. So in this exercise we'll be constructing a pivot table to analyse the large data set we reviewed back in lecture 9. So first of all I'm just going to quickly go and download my large data set Excel file. You'll have to do the same. And it's quite a big file, so it might take a little while to open up. When we do so, you'll recall from lecture 9 that it's a big data set that's full of online order details. So we have for camping and outdoor and sporting equipment. So you can see that it has entries for different countries. It has products, product categories, it has quantities of each item sold, it has retailer types, it also has data from years 2012 to 2014. So it's quite a rich data set, and it's a good one to play with when we're working with pivot tables. So the first thing we're going to do is construct a pivot table with the configuration such that the column label are the years, the row labels are country, retailer, country, and product type, and the pivot table and the values will be the sum of the quantities. So if we jump in, we can go and we can insert our pivot table, which we do by implementing our so there we go. So here we have our pivot table. Now it's already tried to create a pivot table for us automatically there, but we don't want to use that one. So we're going to strip out all of the values in our pivot table, and we're going to start by putting the year across on our column labels. So we drop our year in. Then in our row labels, we're going to put our retailer country, where it sits up the top here. So we'll grab our retailer country and we'll grab our product type also. So we've got our country and our product type, and we'll put the sum of our order quantities into here. Now we've got the sum of the quantities. So if we look here, we can see that our pivot chart has now been populated with data. So we have, for each country, we have the total of each product type that's been sold across that country in there. So we can use some filters, some of the field filters, to answer some questions. So if we want to find out how many lanterns were sold in Australia across 2012-2014, we can start by first of all going to the row labels. If we jump in here, we can select the field. So first field we're going to filter on is our retailer country field. We select Australia, and then we select our product type, and we only want to include lanterns in here. So we can see that by implementing that filter, we've immediately got we've filtered on the country and also the product type, and we've rolled up, and now we have the quantity sold for each year from 2012 to 2014 of lanterns in that country. So we can modify our filter for the second question by going and having a look at the binoculars sold. So we'll start by editing the product to binoculars. So we clear out all of our selections and we only want to select binoculars. Now we also need to include some other countries. So we want to find the quantity of binoculars sold in Australia, China, and Belgium. So we go back to our retailer country. We drop that one into there, we select Belgium and China also. We can see that we've now got rows for Belgium and China included in our data set. So we've gone from a data set that has 88,000 rows of data, and we've summarized that down into a data set that only has 3 rows using these pivot tables. So they're quite powerful. So the next part of this exercise asks you to construct your own pivot tables to answer some different questions. So we want to know, first of all, the total number of products sold in Australia across all quarters from 2012-2014. Then we want to know which type of retailer sold has the most sleeping bags. What's the average quantity of putters sold in Australia, and how many units of rope were sold in sports stores. So if we go and have a look at the first question, we want to know the total number of products sold in Australia across all quarters. So we might start by dropping in the product quarter into our column labels. So you can see straight away that we've added these quarter values to each one of our column sets here. So now we know how much of each item have been sold in each quarter. Now, we don't really care what product they are, so we don't need the product type in here anymore. So now we've got the retailer country, and we want to filter that, so the total number of products across Australia. Now we want to make sure that we only select Australia for this one, so we can use a field filter to answer that question. So this gives us the total number of products sold by quarter from 2012 to 2014. So it's fairly simple to manipulate our data to answer all of these different questions. The next question is, what retailer sold the most sleeping bags in 2014? So for this question, we no longer need our quarter information, so we'll remove that value from our column labels. We still need our sum of quantities, but we want to know which retailer type sold the most sleeping bags. Now, we don't really care about the country either, so we'll remove that out as well, and we'll go and grab the retailer type. So the retailer type should be up here in the fields. We'll drop our retailer type into here, and we want to know who sold the most sleeping bags. So we need the product type to be dropped in as well, and we'll have to go and clear out our filters up here. So again, clear out our product type filter, and we only want sleeping bags. So we drop down to sleeping bags, drop that in. We can see straight away the total number of sleeping bags sold by all, and we can put another filter in there to only include values up to 2014. So we can drop in a report filter. So we drop that in as a report filter, and we drop up to the top here. We just grab 2014. So you can see that now we've got, if we collapse those all down, we can see that which retailer type in 2014 indicated by the filter up the top, for each one of those, how many sleeping bags they've sold. Final two, again, now we want to know the average quantity of putters sold in Australia. So we don't really care about the year, so we can remove that one. We only need, we've got the product type. So the product type should contain, we might need the actual product for this one, so it's not a product type, sorry. So we don't need product type. We're going to need product line to get to the putters. So we want to know the average number sold in Australia, so we also need the retailer country. Can drop those in, I'll rearrange them so the retailer's on top. Then we need to go and alter the formula that we're using, and then we need to go and, oh wait a sec, we've got the wrong product type. There we go, sorry, I've got the wrong value in there. We want the product in here. So here we have our product lists. So we've got the average values of each product list, but we want to drill down even further. So if we go to product, we can filter and only return the putters. Oh, sorry, that should be a product type, sorry. Drop that one out. So if we go through, we can search through now and find a product type. Putters, there it is there. Putters is a product type. So we can see here we've got the average number of putters sold in Australia over 2012 to 2014, so that's 429. So it's a slightly more complex example there, and we had to go searching for some of our data, but once we pick through, we can organize our table, and by testing the different columns there, we found the data that we're after. So the final question there asks us to calculate how many units of rope were sold in sports stores. So again, we have to go through. We need our product type to remain there, but we also need our retailer type. So we don't care about the retailer country. We can get rid of that one. We drag retailer type down here. I'll change the order of that. We need to change our formula back to a count because we're talking about numbers. And we want to know about rope. So we'll select none of them. Ooh, we've got to go to product type, sorry. We don't want any products except for rope to be returned. So here it is there, rope as a product type. So enter that one in. Oops, we've got another filter up here, retailer type. Select it all. Why don't we have any data? We've got a filter on here. And we also need to put some column labels in, so we drop that one in. Take off all of that, select all there. There we go. And we want to know how many retailers, how much rope was sold in sports stores. So we'll deselect all, and then we'll select sports stores. So here we have the quantity of rope sold in sports stores across those filters. So again, a slightly more complex example, and we have to play around with our filters to get our data out, and we can see if we drill down in, we've got our rope sitting there. So just shows the power of pivot tables to interrogate large data sets for finding out information from them. So the final exercise asks us to construct a pivot chart that plots the quantity of each product type clustered by year. So we're going to go back and edit our pivot chart. Now on the Mac version, we don't have the pivot chart functionality, but we'll plot it using a clustered column graph. So again, we'll go and grab, we need to have the product type. We need the sum of the quantity in our values area. And we wanted to know the product type clustered by year. We'll take that filter off as well and select all. And we need to add our year. So again, our year has to be dropped into our columns area. Now we can go and we can construct a chart, a column chart, a clustered column chart for our pivot table. You can see that we've clustered it by year, and we've got our items, our products here specified below. So again, shows the value of the pivot table for summarizing information and large data sets. So that's all we've got for today's exercise. So if you have any questions, please email in